is a chronic depression that goes on, and that's more of the issue I think that we really need to think about in our age group. Kind of somebody goes on for 6 months, a year, just chronically fatigued, chronically unable to get going, just feeling like they're dragging, sort of irritable about the world, not interested in socializing with others. This is very often dysthymia. And there are situations that adjustment disorder refers to where there has been a significant event that we respond to in a depressive rather than in a more useful, functional form. All right. Now, this is, some of my fellow docs are not going to like this, but unfortunately, most of us are seen in primary care situations, and unfortunately, many doctors do not recognize and do not treat adequately the kind of problems that I have been referring to thus far, okay? Particularly depression. There is a tendency to say it's age. Just remember, treat me, not my age. Treat my circumstances, what's going on in me, not some generalization about what happens with old people, all right? And you'll be interested to know the response to treatment is as effective in the elderly as it is with young people. We are not somehow beyond the capacity of treatment. And I would add my own personal sense, we are not at all beyond the possibility of effective psychotherapy. I much rather work with many elderly people because they know they got to do something about it. I mean, they're in a position they want to do something quick, they want to get somewhere with it. Younger people, yeah, you know, okay, and they kind of slide by. They got much more reserve in one sense, but they are kind of more willing to put things off in another. So, and needless to say, throughout there are special medication considerations with the elderly. We use much smaller doses of medication. It needs to be given much more gradually. We're all much more susceptible to having reactions to medication that are not helpful. I looked up this morning just so I could tell you, there is a website called healthychoices.com where you can enter your medications and it will list potential interactions between medications. The medication issue is very important in this whole business, and being knowledgeable. I'll tell you another little trick. It's this guy mentions it. Every time you go to the doctor, ask him, are there some of my medications I could do without? Are there some I could reduce? Every medication carries a weight of potential complications. It doesn't mean not taking them, but it does mean that our physicians be alert to the possibilities of side effects and interactions and acting accordingly. All right. So as I have just said, in effect, depression has strong interactions with medical illness, and medical disorders and medications may precipitate depression. Just a listing of some of the conditions in which depression is very common, but still often treatable: Parkinsonism, hypothyroidism, cardiac disease, various vitamin deficiencies, hypercalcemia. Taking too many of those calcium pills is not necessarily going to do you good. Anemia, taking steroids, which many of us need to take, beta blockers, which are very common and very commonly have depression as a side effect. So our docs should be alert to this and to help regulate them in a way to reduce such things. Okay, some of the takeaways from this. Consider depression in all of us that are elderly, all distressed elderly. Be aware of the dangers, denial, potential for suicide, the central importance of support systems for prevention, recognition, and treatment. Be sensitive to the medical issues, and remember that depression can be treated. This is not a helpless and hopeless situation. All right, finally, to the bugaboo of all of us. What about dementia? We all worry about it, and many of us are going to experience it. I mean, sorry, but to some degree, that's going to happen. It's common, but it's easily confused with non-dementing memory loss. We worry about it much more than, in one sense, at least I would say, than we need to. Alzheimer's is the most common form of it, although there are other kinds of dementia. People with Parkinsonism in particular often have dementia in its later stages. And the point is made often, but I'm going to repeat it. Caretakers suffer. This is where Kendal can be very helpful, I believe, because they are an alternative and helpful with the caretaking. Some of the most distressing elderly people I see are spouses who have looked after a demented spouse who they love and care for, but they're doing it in isolation. And they're up all night. I have one woman whose husband used to be a plumbing contractor. She tells me how he used to carry bathtubs on his back, up and down the stairs, the bathtub on his back to put in. A strong, capable guy who has been totally reduced by severe Parkinsonism and with associated dementia. In the middle of the night, he'll wake up and say, "We got to go out to the job. I got to go out and see the job." And this woman, prior to our working together, she'd kind of get herself together, get in the car and say, "Okay, and where do we go?" I mean, she just was really driving herself into the ground. Well, if you belong to Kendal, you're not going to find yourself in that situation, but many lesser situations are ones which the caretaker needs caretaking. All right, I'm not going to go through. You already, I'm sure, have found in other settings the symptoms of it. The treatment is social, environmental support. That same website that I gave you earlier about the environment, they have a special thing on there about the Alzheimer home. So if this is an issue, it goes through changes to make in a home, like putting labels on the doors to say what that room is: bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, so on. Various devices you can use to help support understanding. Clocks with both digital and hand on them, so that you have two sources of information. There are many other ideas on there about ways of helping sustain functioning. One of our members was telling me yesterday about a program of utilizing music and art. I think it's a wonderful idea because, the accessibility to beauty and to art and to rhythm often remains in the face of significant cognitive decline. So, a very helpful idea. It's very important to be aware of and treat coexisting medical illness in that instance. Okay, so the takeaway here is age leads to short-term memory issues. Mild cognitive impairment exaggerates the problem, but Alzheimer's disease creates helplessness and the disruption of adult life, and requires, obviously, the kind of support that we are aware of and that we hope to provide. Okay, there's got to be accurate assessment and diagnosis. The more we know, I always believe in knowledge, the more we know, the better off we're going to be. Effective care requires what never exists, it seems: seamless coordination of medical, psychiatric, community, and family resources, if that is what we look for, and that caretakers suffer. Okay, now, just for all these, cognitive, mental, and emotional disorders are exaggerations, often, of normal issues. The key is the presence or absence of significant functional, social, and emotional limitation. So the more we can help with those things for ourselves and for others, to a greater degree we lessen the experience of helplessness, which is really the point at issue with most of these. Okay, now next, back to my reserve hypothesis. The preservation of reserves results in the prevention of illness. This is where good physical health makes a difference. Do those exercises, get good nutrition, take your vitamins, but not too much. Check out your medications with your doctor. Make sure you're not getting screwed over by taking two things that cause problems if they're taken together. Long-term gains are achieved by meeting short-term goals. And keep variety, beauty, surprise, and play. I love play. I love playing with my grandkids. There's nothing like doing that kind of stuff. We planted narcissus bulbs in the little containers this week when they came over. It was a lot of fun fun for me, fun for them. You know, we look forward to when the narcissus are going to be blooming 6 weeks from now. So keeping that kind of enjoyment in your life, I mean, I can't encourage it too much. Finally, this reserve hypothesis, which is my other takeaway, but I have explained to some degree. But remember that excellent functioning may continue, but increasing age means increasing vulnerability. Take care of your vulnerability, and let Kendal help you do that. Okay? That's the end. So we have time. I don't know if we have time, but the possibility of questions? Yes?
Well, okay. Keeping physically fit, a lot of doing exercise and there are routines you can do to help yourself physically fit. Are there routines that you can do to keep yourself mentally fit?
Okay. The question is, there are routines that we can do to keep physically fit. Are there routines we can do to keep mentally fit? I'll tell you, I am not one of those who is overly keen on the programs that are supposed to do that. I think they're fine. If you want to do them, great. Personally, I find much more fun and much more value, let's say, in belonging to the Kendal reading group, where I'm reading a book, having to think about it, and getting together with others to discuss it. In taking care of my yard, one of the reasons we live in our homes is because we've got things to do there that we enjoy doing. These are physical activities, and these can be mental activities as well. Keep up with, have interests. Have things that you enjoy doing that stretch your mind. I had a wonderful little cartoon, but I couldn't get it, showing an older guy on a bicycle. He's going along like this. He's got a book open in front of him, and he's reading the book, riding the bicycle as he's going down the street, exercising everything at once. To me, a key of both physical and mental is that you enjoy it. I think you can do the other things if you can get yourself to do them. I cannot get myself to get on a treadmill for my life. I get on it and I get off of it after half an hour. I think, God, this is awful. So